Now to the war in Gaza, and world leaders have condemned an Israeli strike on a humanitarian convoy there that killed 7 people working for the NGO World Central Kitchen. Foreign nationals from Australia, Poland, the UK and the US are among the victims. U.S. President Joe Biden has said he was outraged and heartbroken by the tragedy, while Australia slammed the attack as completely unacceptable. Israel has blamed the strike on a misidentification and called it a grave mistake. Secretary General Antonio Guterres also condemned the attack and has called for an immediate ceasefire.
The devastating Israeli airstrikes that killed World Central Kitchen personnel yesterday bring the number of aid workers killed in this conflict to 196, including more than 175 members of our own UN staff. This is unconscionable, but it is an inevitable result of the way the war is being conducted.
DW's Tania Kraemer is covering the story in Jerusalem. She told me earlier that it's not clear if international criticism will put further pressure on Israel's prime minister to change his Gaza strategy.
Well, I think this is still to see, because we've heard a lot of this international criticism, a lot of international pressure on the Israeli cabinet to protect or to do more to protect civilians, given the high death toll in Gaza among the civilian population. But that also, of course, includes humanitarian workers doing essential work there to bring this much needed aid to the civilian population. And we heard, this pressure is not really always reflected on the ground, and the military efforts there seem most of the times take precedent, although Israel says it does enough to protect civilians. Now, UN officials here in Jerusalem have said after the incident that this is not an isolated incident, but it's of course the most serious, the most tragic one, but that there needs to be done more to have a working mechanism to make it possible that these convoys can go into Gaza and deliver the aid that's needed, and also that humanitarian aid workers are protected under international humanitarian law.
Now, Israel describes the incident as a grave mistake, and it's promising a thorough investigation. But is that likely to have any consequences, Tania?
Well, as always, the military then says after such incidents that they're investigating. There are investigations underway as to why and how this could have happened. But of course, it's also seen as problematic because it's the military investigating itself. So we have to wait and see what are the outcomes of this investigation. The military said they will share this then with the NGOs, with World Central Kitchen and other humanitarian actors. Now, what is very important here for humanitarian workers and for aid workers here is that there will be a review of the security arrangements. They are saying basically the mechanism or deconflicting mechanism, as they call it, which means they're coordinating with the military every movement of their convoys, of their cars that are moving around in an active combat zone. It's a very dangerous environment for them, is not properly working. And we've heard from World Central Kitchen, they had fully coordinated, as they said, with the military. And as more details emerged, there are a lot of questions now how this could happen, as this was a convoy of 3 cars. One of them at least was clearly marked as World Central Kitchen, 2 of them armored, as we understand. And they were all 3 targeted, apparently, according to reports here, by drone strikes. So this is very important for the aid workers here, so they can continue to do their work.
Israel is also implicated in the attack in Damascus that killed top Iranian generals, Tania. The Pentagon says it believes Israel carried out the airstrike. How is Israel reacting to all this, Tania?
Well, Israel is usually not commenting on such strikes. But again, here in the media, of course, among military analysts, it is very much discussed as to the implications and the consequences of this strike that was in the Syrian capital, Damascus. And we heard from the Iranian supreme leader saying that this will require punishment. Now, the question here, what's being discussed, is how will the retaliation look like? There's a discussion here that this is this shadow war, as it was called, between Iran and Israel is coming out of the shadow, and it's seen as a serious escalation. And now, of course, everybody is waiting to see how Iran will react to this. There could be, several possibilities. We don't know yet. They could, attack a diplomatic overseas embassies, for example, but also more closely here in the region, its proxies such as the Houthis from Yemen, or Iraqi militias, or Hezbollah in southern Lebanon could retaliate. And that, of course, is a concern because the northern area here, the border region, is already on very high tensions.
Tania, thank you very much. That was our correspondent, Tania Kraemer, in Jerusalem.